All right, everybody, welcome back to Finals Conversations. Dan Tinton here with, of course, none other than your PPT Invitational champion, Stefan Pickney.
Hey, what's happening, man? What's going on?
Not much. What's up, bro?
Not much, man.
So, fun week in Orlando for you, right?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. The
Florida,
entire
I
week.
should say.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, you got to visit some fan. That's cool. That's cool.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. They're about 3 hours north of Orlando, though, so it's kind of annoying. I'm not gonna front to take the extra 3 hours down, but hey, it's all good though.
so the real question though is like, what's it like to drive that long with a 1 year old baby in the car?
He was a trooper for the most part. Not gonna lie, it wasn't like horrible. I'll say
That's
that.
good. That's good. I
Yeah, it
I've
wasn't horrible.
always said like this is like not driving, but like I would never take a baby on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
it's just a bad situation, right? Like it's just like
Yes.
you're annoyed, people around you are annoyed. It's just never good. So like driving a car probably better.
Yeah. Stop
All
as many
right.
times as you want. You need to.
Yeah. But
Yep.
he was cute. I enjoyed meeting him and meeting your
Thanks,
girlfriend and
man. Yep.
everything.
Cool little man.
Yeah, he's a cool little dude. So, I'll be glad to be your random guy that holds your baby whenever you need me to. So it's okay.
All right, sounds good.
All right, let's talk Transformers.
Yes, sir.
All right, so it was PPG's first invitational for Transformers. Uh, I believe there was I want to say like 13, 13 last chance qualifiers that went off.
Something like that, because it was
Yeah.
seven. There was seven Friday, and I know I came in. I think I caught the first one because there was like 4 or 5 total. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
about between 12 and 13, 14,
Okay.
something.
Yeah,
Yep.
I heard different numbers from everybody, so I
Yeah,
just kind
yeah,
of went with the unlucky one of 13.
yeah. I unfortunately, yeah, that'll work. I unfortunately wasn't set up to play best of ones, because I tell you what, I would have been the butthole to play combo, and
Oh,
because
yeah.
I really wanted the super rare uncut sheet, and if by any means necessary, I would have done that to at
Oh,
least
yeah.
win two, to get the, because it was 100 tickets to get an uncut sheet. So obviously the math, it was winner take all, so 60 tickets per for the winner each time. So you
Yeah.
need to win two, and you'll have another 20 tickets left over. So yeah, I had like all, I don't want to say best of three decks, but like I just had like my normal stuff with me and nothing. Like I think the best thing I could have built is I probably could have found a Springer from somebody. Obviously, it's a comment. I'll just get one from a shadow, like he gave me that red alert at
Mm-hmm.
Ohio, and played Airstrike Springer at least, because I had some solid game ones
Mm-hmm.
in general. But it is what it is.
Yeah, the late in the week announcement for the uncut sheets is really unfortunate because we like already had tickets to go to Universal, so like
Right, right,
I wasn't passing up tickets to go to Universal to play for some uncut sheets, unfortunately.
right.
But nonetheless, it was still. I know people were like somewhat upset about the best of ones and stuff like that. In the end, if you were trying to qualify, it's probably the best possible system for you.
Yeah, for that sake, because I mean, if they did best 2 out of 3s, probably would have been half of those pods each
Right, and
time.
it
Like
was
it
only
was,
$10 buy-in, right?
yeah, and $10 buy-in.
Right,
So
so it's not like you're breaking the bank for every event type
no,
scenario, and it was quick and moving, and
right,
even like if you took a round and lost, you had like an hour or so to make the changes you thought necessary,
right.
So I think the best one in the end for just to get people qualified quickly. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
So
Except for when you get War of Attrition for game, when it's Shockwave versus a Cali Burst.
well, play better. I would say.
Bro, I wasn't even mad. I was like, oh damn, that's pretty cool. Shit.
Got me,
GG.
got me.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Yep.
So you spent all day Saturday there, or were you there all day, or most of the day?
I left like late, and because I knew the LCQs didn't start till 1 o'clock, so I left like super late, and kind of I came in around like 1:30 or whatever. So I feel like I think I missed the first LCQ. Then I played it like next three after that. So around
Yeah.
like 1:30 on until I think the venue closes at 9. So it was there for
Oh
a
wow.
good.
So you were there a good part of the day. Gotcha.
Well, I'd say that, but we left like at 7 ish or something like that. But then I dropped them off at the hotel, and I actually ended up coming back, and I played some random games with a couple people,
Mm.
and just hung out just to get some reps in with decks, just to play.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
hang out.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I will say this: the room that we were in, the event center, it was a pretty nice little event center for what it was.
I would say yeah, for what it's worth and for the venue, it fit perfectly. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like you were there. And was it crowded on Saturday because of like the other big
No,
events?
no, honestly, no, it
Okay.
wasn't that
Yeah,
bad.
because I mean, it was pretty. We had plenty of room for our event on
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah,
So
yep. Vanguard
speaking,
too. Vanguard like took one whole strip of like tables or whatever, so they were like in their own little world over in the
yeah,
back corner. And then we were like kind of not next to them. Well, yeah, we were next to them pretty much, but we covered like 2.5 long strips of the
yeah, we
tables
were
on that side. So
like 20 plus table spots or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. So it was cool. Yeah,
So, well, speaking of it,
yeah.
uh, we had 43 players, I believe,
I
which
want to
was
say it was 40. I heard 44, but then on the paper I saw 46.
okay. I
So
thought it was an odd number, but I could be wrong.
well, and the reason why I think it was definitely not think, but okay, so 46. I remember David, the guy with the heavy orange black Pierce deck.
Yeah,
Um, he said he got a buy, and I'm like, okay, no disrespect, but he didn't win any of the
yeah. So
tournament.
I think
How
it
did
was
he
an
get a
odd
buy?
number of people.
But that's well because three of us got a buy. If you
Right,
46 minus the three people that
right,
won
right, right.
PPT, that's where that comes from. And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he
So
must have
hey,
got a buy. So
hey
yeah,
man,
there you
congrats on him.
go. Yeah, work.
Best buy ever. Now, I did want to talk about it a little bit because, you just released your tournament report today. Well, technically last night, but whichever, it doesn't matter. um, and in a 6 round tournament, you really only had to play 3 rounds
Theory,
because you
yeah, that's
won
all
you
it is.
won
Sure.
3 rounds and you had the first round bye, so you were able to draw yourself in.
Right.
That ability to have that round one bye proved to be pretty crucial for 2 of the 3 of you that had, well, actually 3 out of the 4, I guess, if we include David now, that had a
Yeah.
round one bye. So 3 of the 4 of you had made top 8 because of with the help of the round one bye. That's a pretty big
That did
deal.
help a lot, not having to stress round one. Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, and then well, it's not even that. It proves to you, like it should prove to everyone that like these events, if maybe they're not necessarily worth flying to, but like if you can get like a drive to one of these PPT events to get in, and try and win them and get that bye, well, like I said, I just three of the members of the top 8 had a round one bye, so
Right.
it's a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. Something to
Yeah.
think about.
And I've seen some controversy about the system and like intentional draws and things like that. Well, I will say it's something that I'm still not used to because again, coming from Yu-Gi-Oh, you get banned for that. They catch you trying to do it like they like collusion obviously is you know uh, prohibited, and so is intentional draws. So being able to do that here is just like I said, it's still something new to me. And to be honest with you, I don't care what anybody says. If you're undefeated and your opponent wants to draw, you're not going to say no, let's play. Especially when intentional draws are legal. I don't care what anybody says. I think that's wild. And when you're not there, it's like, damn, I could potentially be getting screwed because those guys up there are drawing. But when you are there, you know what I mean? I think it's a different story. So
Well, all right. So
it's a
I wasn't prepared to talk about this, but we can definitely talk about it
well,
because
you can
I'm
hit home on it more because you're probably used to it. Like I said, again, coming from
honestly
Yu-Gi-Oh.
no, I'm not because in WoW there were no intentional draws.
Oh,
So,
okay.
um, but like Magic has had them for as long as I can remember. So like
Forever.
I just respect that that's part of the rule.
Right.
Here's you said the word collusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a much better chance of collusion if there isn't intentional draws. Because
Yeah.
like bribery becomes like a real thing, and if you ask
Right.
me at any competitive level, bribery is worse than intentional draws all day.
Absolutely.
Because like it is very very easy to look at a standing sheet and be like, all right, well I have the best breakers, so if I win, I'm guaranteed to be in. And then
Right.
you play against your opponent, and you're like, oh, you have no chance to get in. Like, and this for me personally, even in this event, it happened because like in my last round, had I won, I would have had 13 points and I would have gotten into the top 8. My opponent had the worst breakers going in to where if he was X2, he could not make top 8. But that doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like it's not. I can't just be like, oh, I'm definitely gonna be in, so like you should scoop to me because blah blah blah. Like it doesn't work that way.
Especially, well, I think the biggest thing, especially, is because you understand the tiebreaker system. A lot of times, your
Right.
opponents don't. and they don't want
Right.
to hear that. They have every wholehearted belief that they'll still make it, so they're
Right,
gonna
right, right.
play it out and talk that shit.
100%, 100%. But like to me, it's like it's worse at that state of the game when you're in that position to where like you're a win and in at a tournament, or you're a get to X round and be able to draw into a top eight. That draw in it's like the best feeling ever. So I understand if
Yeah,
the people that haven't been there, they haven't been in that position to do those things. I can understand why they're a little upset about it, but I'm telling
yeah, for
you
sure.
from like every perspective I can imagine that if in WoW back in the day when I was playing WoW and I finished, anywhere in the 9 through 16 bracket over and over again, and if there was intentional draws in WoW and I could have drew myself into the top 8, I would have. So
Yeah, sure.
like
That's what I say. When you're in that position, if you were there, I feel like you're not gonna just say no and
yeah.
play it out when
I
you know the
mean,
math is gonna let you in.
right. Like you and I did it at EI,
Yeah,
Like we drew ourselves into the top 8 at EI. Like yeah, like
yeah,
why would we not do this? Like it doesn't make
right.
any sense. So,
Mhm.
I think for me that intentional draws are completely fine in the game. At the end of the day, it's gonna the amount of times that like a person starts the event 6-0 and then goes 6-2 and doesn't make the top 8 anyway is like it's not even, it's a 1% factor. It's a lottery shot at that point.
Right,
So
right,
like it's that number isn't enough to change the whole system because people don't like how it looks. Like if you started that tournament 4-0, you have earned your spot in the top 8, in a 6 round tournament anyway, in my opinion. So it's like I don't see the big deal with having 4 guys double draw into. You took that, and for what it's worth, that only works with the amount of players that we had.
right.
If
That's
we
what I'm saying.
had 10 more players, you guys wouldn't have been able to do that. So it like
Right.
you guys were just in the best position to do it in that moment because that's how many players were. But once again, if it was 55 players instead of 43 players, you wouldn't have been able to.
Right.
So it's just a matter of knowing how tiebreakers work and knowing how the system works. Like, and
Hmm.
it's no in no way, shape, or form is that against the rules.
Yeah, which is broken.
Eh,
So I'll take it.
that's fair. So anyway, since we just kind of went off on that one,
It's all good.
uh, let's talk about the meta. So like, I got to see like 40 of the deck list probably while doing commentary. There was a ton of General Optimus Prime, whether it be Skydive, Dead End, or Thrust in the main deck. There was a ton
For the
of.
record, I think I was the only dead end in the tournament.
You were the only Dead End, yeah. There was a ton of Shockwave variants of
Yeah,
all sorts. There was Caliburst, there was Tailwind, there was Sights. Like there was like I think a little bit of everything.
yeah, yeah.
Um, there was a few Octone. There was like like I want to say like 5 Jetfires or something like that. So you had
I
three
like
of
to see
them.
that spread. That spread was pretty nice. That's
Yeah,
a good variety.
I mean 3 Jetfires made top 8. So
Yeah.
even
Was it three?
though
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
even though
Two
Galactic
calls.
even though Galactic Prime had the most decks, only one made the top 8, right? Which I
Yeah.
mean, I guess
Actually,
that's the same as Energon, like because there was 6 of them in the top 32, but only one in top 8. So it was the same thing. Like there was 8 of them here, but only one of them made the top 8. But there
right.
was probably only 4 or 5 Jetfires, and 3 of them made the top 8. So
Yeah.
um, the Shockwave, there was like I said, there was like 6 or 7 Shockwaves, and he was number one going into the event or going into the top 8. He was number one overall. Um, and then there was like a, a kind of a spread version of the David Burgess deck. He told Scott that he had played in the LCQs and bunch of people liked his list, so they were kind of like trying to copycat it. So like there was
Yeah.
a bunch of different like Lionizer 4 wide decks that were like just this one off like thing that like I had seen in the sheets. The funny ironic thing was that I never saw David's deck because for whatever reason it was the one missing deck list in
Oh
the
wow.
whole thing. So like while doing commentary, we're trying to like figure out what's in his deck, what are his outs, and like we didn't have his deck, so it's like, well, I guess we don't have this. So like, what are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
Yeah,
Um,
that's I actually ended up playing against a variation of that same character lineup in my first round of play, so my round two.
yeah,
He played like minor medic kits and some other things, and he also side decked into Brunt. and
Yeah.
things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so he was one of the ones that were, I guess inspired by David's deck. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I get it because like the deck is definitely it's different than what we had seen, even at EI. At least what we had seen that did well at EI. Like maybe these decks existed at EI, but they kind of just like weren't there yet or weren't figured out. So
Right, right.
definitely credit to him that he kind of found his way to compete against this control meta.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and to my understanding, he tore apart the Jetfires that he played against.
Man,
Uh,
I sat next to Kent and watched his top 8 match, and it was just like watching a massacre. And like I was just looking
yeah,
over. Kent was not happy, and yeah, he was eating them alive with that deck, orange black deck.
yeah. So um, definitely be more interested to see a little more of like people having the exploration of that deck and seeing what that
Yeah,
deck can evolve into.
yep.
Um,
So to go into that, because
yeah,
we're talking about that, yeah. So stable cover, the card that I cited at EI, well, it actually has some merit now because if that deck becomes a big problem, it's gonna be annoying. And yeah, W5 Gyro Blaster completely shuts that deck down. If I still had that one in my side deck, you know what I mean? Like he would have never been able to stop it because I don't think he played reprocessed. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, so things like W5, stable cover, and then overheat. Overheat's probably more fun than anything, but they're all blowouts against those decks. So thank God we have some answers to all that
Yeah,
madness
I
going
think
forward. So we'll
I
see how it shapes up based off of that. Because I think people care about his deck clearly way more than mine. Because mine is just Galaxy Prime. That's innovative and something new that nobody has seen. So that's opening
right,
up a lot of eyes, which is good.
right.
So
Well,
that's it's all good.
it's also just it just proves how easily you can form your deck, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah,
the Jetfire decks could all very easily just play Gyroblasters and find them, and then that
yeah,
deck looks a lot less scary because they're like, oh, you
right,
don't flip 8 anymore, you flip 2. Okay, I'll
right.
take 2.
Yeah,
So
exactly,
um,
exactly.
that's just one way to look at it, obviously. But
Yeah, that's true. And that's just how a meta ends up, forming or shaping. So we'll just see how it goes from here. So yeah.
yeah,
And
uh,
of course, there's also room for improvement on Davis' deck too. Like there's a couple cards I think I would have played over what he was playing, but overall,
no, but
we'll see
bro,
how it goes
seriously,
over here.
Immersed in Shadows.
Hey, whatever, man. Don't
I'm
talk
just
too much.
saying that card, like I was blown away by
No, that was sick. That was
how
sick.
powerful it looked on screen.
Yeah.
Like he played it, I'm like, is that what I think it is? Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, it is.
I was
Yeah.
so tight. Like when he had it, game 2, and he had me on a lock. I was like, did that just get locked in Transformers? I was like, what is going? I have never been locked in this game until now, and I was like, oh my goodness. So,
Yeah, it was.
not a lock like that. Not a lock where you legit don't want to attack into a character you don't. It's not like he had hiding spot or step forward or something. So I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, he definitely took a card that like people won't play in sealed, like,
Yeah, yeah.
and put it in his main deck and was playing it actively.
Well, to be honest, I will say, I feel like this was something hidden. Like, of course, now he did say his bad matchup was any aggressive deck unless he procs the Vanguard.
Right.
But it's like looking at all these orange black cards, all these black cards in general. I feel like that was the hidden like answer to these heavy control decks. So I don't know if there's even something potentially even better than what he was playing. But what I'm getting at is it's just interesting how. Like he literally put he even put what black cards in his deck that he wasn't going to use. It was just for
Yeah, he
the old
was
school, just for the icon.
he was literally playing like the mercenary orange black. I can't remember what it's called right now. Opportune offensive, I believe.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
repairs, one of
yeah.
the two. Yeah,
Opportune. He was playing opportune repairs in his deck with no mercenaries. Like he can't even
yeah,
play that card.
right. I'm like, damn. So yeah, props to him for coming up with that.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting list. I know you have it coming out on your YouTube channel soon, so
Yeah, Friday he'll be here. Yep,
yeah, we'll be
for sure.
looking out for it.
Yeah.
And then
I like the
yeah,
anticipation of it because there's no actual deck list posted for yet. So I like that I have the power. So I
yeah.
can joke.
I never, like I said, I saw every deck list in the entire event, but not his. I didn't see it.
Don't worry, guys. It'll be
Scott
us.
Scott got to like sift through it, but like we didn't even know what his sideboard character was.
Yeah.
We had no
Yeah.
idea. So
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel at the end of the? Oh, obviously, like at the end of the event, how did you feel?
I was so mad Scoundrel's Blaster wasn't in my deck. That's it.
I tell you what, I
Because it
remember.
was in my deck forever. Like it was already in there before like I even was gonna go with thrust and any of that. Then
Uh-huh.
I got my thrust like before the event. Scoundrel's Blaster was always in there. I'm sitting on the bed in the hotel. My son and girlfriend are just chilling watching. or watching TV, and I'm just like on the bed looking at my list, and I was like, I'm taking out the Scoundrels Blaster, and I literally had no reason for it. And as soon as I got in the tournament, I'm like, I seen Scott with the Scoundrels on his thrust, and I'm like, yeah, that could have been me too.
I,
But
I tell you what, I just remember I'm sitting there watching your top four, and I'm like, oh man, his these two Decepticons here that Jetfire's gonna have a hard time killing. I was like, Scoundrel's Blaster's gonna be really good.
even better,
And
right?
I start looking at your list. I'm like, oh no, he took it out. I was like, why did he do
I should have let you
that?
guys look at my deck one more time before I submit it. I don't know what the hell I was thinking
I
about.
literally, I just went through. I'm like, he's got two Decepticons. Why would he take that card out?
Leave me alone. There was literally no reason. I can't even tell you a reason. I'm just a dummy. I just took it out, and I was like,
Like
whoops.
I even had one in the main of mine, and I sided one on top of that. That's how
Oh
good I
Jesus.
thought it was. Shit,
Nice.
and you couldn't. You had two Decepticons, and you didn't have one. What's going on with Stefan here? But
Well,
you know,
see
it's all
what had
right.
happened was,
You
but yeah.
just blundered a little bit. It's all right.
Yep. Absolutely.
But anything else? I can go over some of the stuff I thought I blundered on.
Um, I mean, overall, like about my deck choice, like or my deck choice, my card choices, I love the past my just immediate love for the range cards. Like those hovercrafts really helped a lot. I wish I was playing a third, like against that Orange Pierce deck and the Airstrike Patrol deck I played in top 8. Jake, PPG Vegas winner, they helped out a lot. Like it's always a feel good when you play that card. You know, they definitely helped a lot. Even against the two tall matchups, when if you play it on thrust to deal 2 to 1 to each, you know, their thrust and their Jetfire or whatever. Like it was just good, just all over, overall over the weekend. I didn't like Sturdy Javelin as much though, not in this build, because like in the Jetfire Airstrike deck, all 3 of them are ranged. So like your first turn you swing with Knife Flight, your second turn you swing with most likely, I guess I'm assuming Tailwind, and he's ranged as well, so he can like wear it on that turn. If you open with Javelin and you go on first, you attack with Dead End, and then you usually, not I want to say usually attack with Flame War, but if you do, and you have Javelin, well, a lot of times I didn't want to put the Javelin on Optimus. I wanted to put something else. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it kind
Right.
of just sat a lot is the point. So like, and then plus on top of that, when you play it off the top from your Optimus flips, you can put the Javelin on, but you can't throw it. You have to wait till the next time you attack with them. If you get a hovercraft, you can play it right away, which I did. Like I think I want to say twice. One was a really crucial round. I did it. So yeah,
Yeah, the javelins, like they found their way out for me in testing just because of everything you just said. It's
yeah,
like it's like the worst weapon to put on Optimus, and then like even watching the way you were playing and how you were attacking with dead end, it's like you're all unless your dead end survives the round, like you're putting yourself in that same position where you're like, I have to play javelin on my Optimus run.
yeah. You just don't want to.
So you're just like, eh.
Yep.
But the hovercrafts, like they look good for you, and definitely in the finals. But I think even in the top four, like you had a good hovercraft play. So it shows that maybe like you don't need all of them, but like
Yeah.
somewhere hovercraft could probably still make the list.
Right. And I mean, it's kind of taking the place of marksmanship because marksmanship is on his way out. Something. So I mean, like if disarm was the number 1 for me, but number 2 is definitely hovercraft.
Yeah,
Love that card, so.
disarm was just phenomenal.
Yep.
Period. I mean, it
Yeah.
was phenomenal EI too, but the card
Yeah.
just kind of held true that all these Voltronish decks, especially specifically the control decks that like it's so good against. But even in the top 8 type thing where like you have this deck with 2 Battle Masters, like
Mm-hmm.
you still just get to like disarm them and say, all right, well, see you later.
And another play that's really good that I don't think I've ever seen anybody else do is you can disarm yourself. And so against airstrike, don't get rid of. I mentioned this in my deck profile, but don't get rid of your disarm for a green just yet. If you have hovercraft in your hand, because that's a photon bomb to airstrike patrol,
Yeah.
which can definitely be very good. So because you'll probably never disarm them. So I mean, you disarm yourself for the one. You play hovercraft one turn, next turn disarm yourself, play hovercraft again. Why not? Not saying it's probably going to be the best play, but it's definitely a viable option. So.
Yeah, I mean, I watched you do it in testing the week before, and I was like, eh.
Yeah, I did that on Scott. Shout out to Scott. That was a cool
I
play.
was like, not bad.
Yeah.
um, I can say the meta itself was, I guess, interesting. Um, a lot of people were committed to main decking thrust.
I was gonna say the epitome of the weekend, honestly, in a nutshell, was big guy thrust, get big as possible, hit
Yeah, I mean, like
packs.
I played more games with thrust than I did like my regular characters. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's one of those. It's like maybe that's where it's at. Maybe it's not. But for the weekend, that's definitely where it was.
yeah. I
Um,
didn't want to take the gamble dealing with airstrike game ones like that. I'd rather
right, and I didn't either.
personally, you know. So,
um, so what do you think about that gamble in general?
um, because control is between Shockwave variants, Jetfire variants, and Galaxy variants are actually, I think, more played than Airstrike Patrol. I
Hmm.
think it was a proper gamble, but I just didn't have the balls to do it personally. I think it was okay because I don't think they are. I think Richard like said he still tested against orange decks and he still could win because if worst case scenario, I want to say his cyborg character was aimless. I think I
They
don't
they
remember.
they
So
boarded
he,
aimless, yeah.
yeah, so he would be just like he was at EI, beating a whole bunch of orange decks the same way, flipping a whole bunch of, you know what I mean, Jetfire hitting for what, 10 defense, 11 defense
Yeah,
consistently and things like that. So I guess you might drop game one potentially, but you'd just be like, like his deck before. So, and
yeah.
just in general, so I mean, like I said, it was a good gamble because most of the field was controlled. So I'm not gonna say it wasn't a smart move. I think that was very viable.
I mean, it
But,
it definitely worked out for
yeah, I'm about to say
some of
you
them.
take that gamble and it worked out. Yeah, so
I mean, like you had two of the Jetfire thrust decks make top eight, and then the Optimus thrust was ninth. You know,
right, yeah, yeah.
so like
It's just a medical in
yeah,
general.
it was definitely interesting. It was a risk versus reward type thing, and the reward definitely worked out. So
Mm-hmm.
um, personally, I'm not a fan of the whole thrust solo meta. I
Yeah,
just think the games, a lot of the gameplay gets taken away by it because it's really just like, did I draw my buff? Did I draw my damage spell?
right.
Yeah, like so to me, like I'm not a big fan of it. Just because like I feel like the turns in the game are just shortened by so many that like it's impossible to like even like misplay type thing. It's
Right, right,
like
right.
you get what you get, and like if you got better than the other guy, then you won. So it's like
Yeah,
I was just a little upset with like just the overall gameplay of thrust in general. Like I boarded it because like I knew that like it was the best thing to do against like combo
you
and
just have to right now. Yeah,
right and some of the other stuff, but like the idea to main deck it to me is like tough because like I believe in the like going all the way back to Origins. Like we played a deck that was a three tall control deck that boarded into a two tall control deck. So like I don't ever want to lose the ability in that route.
right.
Now
Same.
Jetfire can do it better than Optimus can, obviously.
Yes.
So that's the big deal there is that the Jetfire aimless deck, was it's able to compete very well against the aggro decks, but it's still a matter that like if you do give up a game one against aggro, and then they get to choose if they want to go first or second again in the third game, it could be the match. So it's just to me it was a very interesting call to make, in my opinion, on almost a die roll
Right.
for them like to be favored in these matches. But
Yeah.
once again, risk versus reward.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say though, after playing Rich twice, I'm not as worried about the
the
Thrust
jet,
Jetfire
yeah,
than Optimus Jetfire because once you go target down Thrust and it's just Jet. I mean, even kind of technically with the Optimus. I mean, I'm just in general like him with him that 6 attack versus Optimus 8 attack. I'm just not as worried. Once you get rid of Thrust, it's Jetfire versus Optimus Thrust, and it's just not a good look for Jetfire at the point. So.
right. Well, see, even for me, like what I had noticed was like those games for them is like as soon as Thrust is dead, they didn't have um, the improvised shields, right? So like they only have the matrix to put on top and like a white or something like that. I have to like go back and look, but I don't even think they had like a bashing shield or like a sparring gear. They don't have any of these
Right.
cards like to get value out of their attack. So they're
Right.
pretty much like all in at that point, like drawing Energon Axe to like keep
Mm-hmm.
up on damage with you. So
Yeah.
like if you're able, and even to start that, they're only hitting like 9 or 10 attack when
Mm-hmm.
they attack you. So like if you're like defending five, but you're swinging at them for 11, 12, 13, like the damage doesn't even like match up at all. So it's like to like that's why I think that they had to kind of go with the thrust in the main as their
Right.
answer to the General Prime decks.
Makes sense.
it's just the matter of like what were they giving up in that first game against the aggro that like that was like their lock. So
Right.
like for me, like I don't ever want to take away the guaranteed win. Like, like if I know I'm gonna win 90% of my games against aggro, I don't want to take that risk and like lose the game one and then like put it up to a coin flip in the last two games.
Right.
That's just my personal play. It doesn't
No,
mean that it's right or wrong,
I'm behind that personally. Yeah. Yep.
And
I approach it the same way.
right.
So I mean, just in general, I gotta also say it's just really cool how I think one of my favorite plays of the weekend is such a simple play, but it's how Matrix passes one to Thrust and then Thrust passes it back to Optimus. Like I think that is
It's
so dope.
really cool. Yeah,
It really is.
like you're just like, oh, he has like +5 again or some weird thing. Like this is
Yeah, I
weird.
had like 16 base at one point, like against
Yeah,
me. I was, that's kind of dope. So
yeah,
how it all went.
yeah.
So
If you imagine if you had Scoundrels Blaster.
hey, leave me alone. Leave me alone. It could have been 18, not
uh,
16.
Man, can you imagine? Jeez.
Yeah.
Um, so I since I was fortunate to commentate. I
Yeah, thanks for
remember
that too. That was good. You guys both did well.
I remember the finals where Scott like literally predicts to the T how much damage he's gonna do your Optimus Prime.
I saw that. It's funny. I didn't really pay no mind to that till I saw the damage on my guy. I'm like, oh shit, he did get that right. What the hell?
Yeah, it was pretty good, right? But I was like, he's like, it's gonna be 18. It was just like, all right, Scott, whatever. Start blowing smoke up my
Right,
ass, right?
exactly,
And like,
exactly.
boom, he hits 18. I'm like, get the hell out of
Good thing you
here.
didn't bet him, huh?
Stuff, right? Tell me about it.
Jeez.
But it was one of those like there's moments like that throughout the top eight, um, where like you see this game going one way and then like all of a sudden you're just like, oh, well that went differently.
Yeah,
That was one of those moments where it's like, oh, you got rid of your guy, and all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, Optimus just took 18.
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
did you I know it's tough for you because you only had 3 rounds in the constructed, but did you play against anything interesting in
The
the four
orange black
rounds?
deck. The orange black deck.
Right, that was the fine. I wasn't sure if it was anything else.
Well, yeah, just that when I played the other one, because I played now going into the finals, I did. I had some confidence based off the fact that I won against the one in Swiss, but
Yeah,
then I'm like, I'm not I wasn't gonna underestimate him either way, but I also realized like, well, he apparently is the creator of the deck, and he's about to win this tournament potentially, so like I
yeah,
need to be on my toes against this guy.
yeah,
But other than that, everything else was just the meta I expected, so that was cool, based off of how I built my deck. So
yeah. I agree.
uh,
The meta, like outside of like the main deck thrust, which I just
yeah.
didn't think people were gonna be willing to do efficiently. Everything else was like spot on. I thought Galaxy would be the most played deck, which it was.
Mhm.
I wasn't expecting as much Shockwave as we got, to be honest.
Me neither. I was sitting there like, Jesus Christ, why is there so much shockwave still?
To my understanding, Shockwave did pretty well in the LCQs.
Oh,
So that's what I
well,
heard
yeah.
was that a lot of people were playing Shockwave in the LCQs. So maybe
That's a good
people,
game one deck too. So I mean, that's why I played in the
yeah.
first. But
So
yep,
so maybe people just said, oh well, I queued with this, so I'll play this type thing.
yeah.
So maybe that's why it was like the second most common deck. Now the
And to
airstrike
everybody
decks,
out there, real quick, I haven't given up on my boy. I just got to figure some things out. Optimus is also my boy, so there's that.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So now the airstrike decks. Did you play against any of the Springer decks?
no Springer variants, no, just the general Optimus one, the one that Jake won with,
Right.
from his the Vegas win. So he was
Right.
tweaked them too. Yeah.
Because there were 3 Springer aggros in the top 16.
Nice.
Um, and
Oh
one of
yeah, like
them,
Will. I remember Will was one of them. Shout out to Will.
yeah, Will was one. Jesse was one.
Yep.
Um, I'm trying to remember the other names. I can look at this picture real quick. Haha, it's cheating. No, it's not. But yeah. So this was like a variant of the Jesse deck from Vegas, the Bixler deck from EI,
Right. Yep.
that we had been talking about a lot, from like the OA deck that me and you did that video for commentary on,
Yeah.
and a lot of the guys kind of took from that and did their own thing with it.
Mhm.
And obviously, like there was, they all went 4-2. Jesse was playing for top eight, and he lost on camera to roll the Shockwave deck that finished first overall. So, there was contention there, but it was definitely a different at side of the airstrike patrols. Did you happen to see anyone playing with it?
Wait, which version? What are we talking about?
The Springer version.
Yeah, I mean Jesse, the same people you're talking about, Jesse and
Yeah.
Will, and I forgot the other person, but I did see a couple. Yep, running around.
Yeah. The what do
I
you,
was watching the whole
what do
day.
you think that the Springer deck has to offer over General does?
Consistency in playing certain playing cards, like efficient cards every turn, or the turns you do play cards, and it definitely has a better, it has a bigger explosive turn. But Optimus just has like more consistent attacks. The Optimus version, rather, excuse me, I think it has more consistent attacks over the course of each turn, passing that bowl to the little guys.
Right.
Especially like with no cards, I think the most I ever seen one do is 9. Like on its first turn, like Night Flight's doing 9. Why is a 4-drop doing 9 on the first turn? Like seriously,
Cause
Jesus. So
tailwind OP, bro. Tailwind OP. That's all I got to say.
not cool, but
Yeah, I
oh, it
think
is cool, but not cool when it happens to me. But yeah.
I think it's very tough to say if Springer is better than Optimus.
Yeah, it's a
As
toss up. I can't even say what would be better. I honestly,
right, I
because with Optimus you get another double orange. You
yeah,
know,
I think it's just a preference thing in the end. I believe that the Springer version creates more opportunity for decision points.
yeah.
And
I think I like the Optimus version better though. As much as I love drawing cards, I honestly don't like Springer in that version as much because I don't like how it hoards cards and waits. Like so, a lot of times they just don't do anything because they wait for the 7-card hand, and it's like, well, isn't that the equivalent of like one big turn is the equivalent of those medium turns that got you 10 or 11 attack or whatever with those guys.
I think
I feel like
the big deal for most of them is what they were trying to do against like the General Optimus decks, the Galaxy Prime decks was
right,
set up your hand so on your Tailwind attack you're going to be able to play 2 upgrades, 2 actions, and like all of a sudden you're swinging for like 19 with your Tailwind.
okay, yeah, and you take out just about all the generals. Yeah, I got
Right. So like rather than like trying to pick at him with his tough and stuff like that if he has it scenario, or even the jet fires with the jet fires and all the extra padding and all that stuff, it's like rather than like trying to chip away for 1-2 damage that like the general does, they're trying to just straight up hit you for 20 type
you.
scenario.
Right,
Like, all right,
yeah,
I'm gonna take 15 damage off you and then like put you in panic mode.
right.
That looks like the general plan for that deck, and it was honestly one of the decks that was on my list, my short list to play at the event.
Yeah,
In the end, I didn't think it was the right call for me, but it ended up
against
doing well for players.
absolutely against like especially against blue players that hoard their checkpoint for using it at the right time, especially the turn before they're really about to go off with the 7 cards. I
Yep.
think that's just a lot weaker to checkpoint because you just again hoarding all those cards versus I think I'm more worried about the Optimus version. So
Yeah,
personally,
I also like I said, I think the Springer it's good and bad to the idea that like
yeah,
it creates more decision points. So where
right,
like what that means is like in the hands of a experienced player, they're going to make the right decision points all the time, but in the hands of an inexperienced player, they're not going to do that. Where the General
mm-hmm.
Optimus, even though it's playing off the top of your deck, it means that like you're playing off the top of your deck, so it's like you're always just going to do what is in front of you.
Yeah,
And that bold one across the board is just sometimes just good enough. Like you can compare that deck to Bugs in a big way because in the end, it's like Bugs was basically that. It was like flip my character, play the cards I drew, and move to the next turn.
right, absolutely.
So like I believe that those decks. It's very tough to say which one is better and not better, whichever. But it's a matter of like they both present a different type of worry for control decks.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I agree.
um, other than that, any I don't know, anything else you want to add on to the PPG before we
Um,
do some like sweet shout outs to Machado and friends?
I like the fact. No, no, that's something else. Never mind. No, overall, the entire event was cool. I got to meet some of my other friends, other cards. So that's really cool. Like if you know some other people that are playing other card games, kind of in conjunction, you can kind of always just go glance over at other games. So that aspect is cool. Got to meet up with a lot of old friends that I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh with. So that was cool. The Transformers event was great. It definitely will have an impact on the meta moving forward. and it'll be cool to see what it ends up shaping up to be, because I think some people are starting. There's still some untapped potential in Wave 4, and I guess we're getting spoilers for Wave 5 pretty soon. I heard like the beginning of February or something like that. So that'll be exciting to look forward to that. But while we still got a while for Wave 4, it'll be good to see what continues to evolve, because based off of David's deck, like I'm looking into building inspiration to build tanks again and see if there's anything there. I will try it again in orange black tanks, the Lord Megatron, Demolisher, and Impactor. So
So
it probably still sucks, but we'll see.
you just mediocre test kind of tested the waters up a little bit of a question I want to ask now. So now this was the first big event of the year, and as far as we know at this moment, the next big event will maybe not be until Origins, right?
Right.
And we have February, March, April. We don't know exactly when Wave 5 is coming in April, so you have potentially 3.5 3 months basically before the meta shifts.
Right.
Do you still have a drive to find more in the meta?
As soon as I got home, I opened my computer and built decks at 5 in the morning.
There you go. There you go.
I rebuilt my Optimus deck. I cut that 41st card because I didn't even want to play 41. It just happened. So I made 2 mistakes on my list, but
And
that
then
just
you
happened. And I
found a way to
started.
play Scoundrels Blaster.
Oh, the Scoundrels Blaster absolutely went in there. It went up to 42, then shaved down to 40. Like, that was the first thing. I was like, where the hell is my damn Scoundrels? Like, ugh. I was complaining to my girlfriend about it. Like, shout out to my girlfriend for always listening and listening to me bitch about my mistakes and stuff.
She was very
Because
kind. It was very fun meeting her.
yeah, she's cool. She's cool.
Yeah. The kid was cooler though. I'm sorry, nothing against
Of
her.
course, of course, who's cooler than the kid, man? But yeah, I'm itching to play more. Like, I'm not even. I thought I'd be tired of playing. This game gives me a headache though. From all that, I actually think this game takes more thinking than Yu-Gi-Oh for whatever for me. Like, I get
100%.
headaches
I
and
believe this
they take
game.
so much longer. Not gonna say longer, but it's just like a lot more taxing on your mind than Yu-Gi-Oh ever was for me. And Yu-Gi-Oh, I really just saw the plays and it was like solitaire. I'm going, doing my combos, go. This
I,
game, I'm like, shit. Should I attack? Should I activate this? It's a lot. So
I believe this game has like more decision points than any game I've ever played ever.
yeah, it's a
And
lot.
like it's crazy to say that because it's like at its core pretty basic, but
Right.
it
Yeah,
really
that's the funny
is.
part. That's the funny part when you really look at it. Good in
It's you're
who
like,
to
oh,
attack.
I can only do 4 things a turn. Yeah,
Right.
I got that.
Right. So
um, but yeah, I think it's crazy to think that we have like 3 months before, potentially up to 3 months before Wave 5.
right.
So there's so much time to still figure stuff out.
Yep.
And it's very much like the way Wave One was. Wave One. I know you weren't there for like the whole Wave One meta, and hey, neither was I. But Wave One started out as cars and Dinobots, and then it was bugs, and then it was Too Tall, and then all of a sudden, by the time the end of the wave came, there was this 3 wide control deck. Like so
Mm-hmm.
the meta truly kept evolving, and over the next 3 months, we're gonna have time to truly start exploring some of those newer options.
Right.
So
Right. Which
it'll
is
be really
exciting.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, like we're gonna get all these new cards to look at and be spoiled and have fun with, but we're not
Mm-hmm.
gonna be able to play with them until April. So
No.
it'll
No.
still be fun to explore the meta and see what comes of it.
I agree. Yes, sir.
All right, sir. Well,
So what about you? So we talk about me, one and everything. That's cool. But how was your version of Galaxy? Because you obviously got to talk about the person that it probably inspired most people to play that deck. So how was your experience?
I really liked all the changes that I made to the
Okay.
deck. The only thing I didn't like, and it ended up just being that way based on the way I played matchups, was I ended up putting 2 step forwards in the sideboard,
Okay.
and I never boarded them in because I never played against Airstrike at all or
Oh,
any like 4 wide aggro deck at all. So
right.
it was I played 3 mirror matches, um, which were my 3 wins. Or I'm sorry, 2 of them were my wins, and then one of them I beat combo 2-0. I also adapted the deck to be able to compete with combo in game one, which is what I was. My goal for the weekend was to win game ones, whether or not it was play or draw. That was my goal.
Thank
Um,
you, Thrust. That's one good thing that came out of Thrust, besides the fact that it's just like, it's all Thrust right now. But I do love that Thrust just destroys combo now. Thank goodness.
yeah, the
But there
game.
were
Oh
two
my god.
combo players there, and I love the players that play the decks, but
Yeah,
not the deck. So get out of here,
yeah. I mean, like the game one that I played against Chad. I believe he's from Michigan.
Yep.
Um, he,
Chad and Brad.
yeah,
Hey, that
Chad
rhymes.
and Bad
Right.
both. I'm pretty sure they're both from Michigan, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They, they were both on combo, but in game one, like it was a pretty close game to where I was just able to disrupt him enough to keep him from going off.
Okay.
And then game two, like I boarded in thrust, and it was like the game was over before it started.
Yeah. So even if he went first and attack with fire drive, so you just murder fire drive, and then when you
Yeah,
stand and everything, like he still just doesn't get enough time to do much, and you just
no,
kill his Springer and do more attacks.
yeah.
Okay.
He literally like I killed fire drive, and then I killed swoop, and he was just like, I'm just gonna scoop. I'm like, okay.
Oh, okay. So see, I would have misplayed then. So you go kill the two smaller, then leave Springer by himself.
It's just because he doesn't have enough time to set up the extra paddings. He doesn't have enough time to set
Gotcha.
up the attack because he modified the list and was playing attack drones also. So like you can set yourself up to win with just Springer, of course, but when your opponent is breathing down your neck every single turn, you don't have the time to do this.
Right.
So, and then not to mention, like, I'm still playing checkpoints, I'm still playing espionages, I'm still playing crushing sizes and reprocesses and all these things that destroy anything he plays. So it's
Right.
like it just doesn't have time to do what it's supposed to do. So Thrust 100% takes that out of the equation. It does help, if he gets a little lucky, obviously.
Mhm.
Like the deck, I'm not saying that like if you board in Thrush, you're going to win every game against combo. I don't think that's true.
Right.
But it definitely helps.
Okay.
Um,
Copy that.
as
So you
for,
think hijacks are still needed at 3, unfortunately.
I think the moment you take hijack out of your deck, you're giving because I did play two hijacks in game two also. So like the moment you take hijacks out of your deck and you don't respect combo is the moment that combo is going to run wild.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my opinion. But other than
Cool.
that, my tournament, like I said, I was playing for top eight in round six. And I didn't get the job done this weekend.
Hmm.
What are you gonna do? Can't win them all. Like I said, I thought my chances were good. I will have a deck profile coming up, so it will be out for you guys for everyone to see.
Cool.
Um, but like I said, the main thing was to me was the mirror. I just didn't want to lose game one in the mirror because I knew how hard it was to win the thrust mirror on the draw.
Right.
So that was my goal was that I didn't really think I didn't think people were gonna main deck thrust and go that route because I think it does make you weaker against most of your matchups. So I just went the other route of like I'm gonna build my deck to compete in the mirror while not losing too much on anything else.
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
that's where I went.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
But when in doubt, I finally got to sit and do some commentary, so it was okay.
yeah. Yeah,
So
that was pretty cool. That was good of you guys. You guys did a good job.
it was more or less like I just know that all the PPT events that I've watched have been really tough because it's just silence and like it's really hard for
Yeah.
people to follow. So like
Yep.
I told Machado weeks ago, I'm like, hey, listen, like if something comes up and like whoever's not in top eight, whether it's me, whether it's Scott, whether it's Stefan, whether it's someone else that like we think wants to do it / can do it, like we'll let you know because it'll be better that someone's on there than no one's on there.
For sure.
So
Definitely.
you know. Which also goes to tell anyone that's at a PPT event, if you think you can do a commentary and you're not in the running for a top eight or something like that, and you want to help out Machado, I'm pretty sure he'll take the help.
Yeah. Sure.
So
I don't mind.
shout out to Machado. At the end of the day, I thought him and Eddie Santos was our head judge. I think they did a good job. I think they ran a good event. I think it was for the most part really smooth, and it felt a little slow at times, but I think that just happened because of how quick the sideboarded games went with like the thrust plans from everybody.
Yeah.
Um, so it was
That's
hard to
another plus.
it
I
was
like
hard to
that a
tell.
lot of games didn't, overkill it. So
Yeah, that's fair. But all in all, it was still a good weekend. It was still a good event. And now it's just a matter of waiting to see when we'll do this podcast again.
Right? Yeah, whether it's a PBG finally announcing their stream of new events or what, but
Yeah,
so
as of right now, we're gonna be on a small hiatus because there's not anything currently going on for like 6 months.
yeah. I guess we can
Hopefully
look
that
forward
changes.
to our top deck game events. I'll try to make some of those. So
Yeah, the top deck events are gonna be pretty good, and there might be hopefully even more to come with them. So we'll see how that
good.
goes.
Sounds good.
All right, all right. Well, thank you for sitting down with me one more time, and
Of course.
congratulations again on your win, sir.
Appreciate it, man.
Way
Always
to
a
kick
pleasure.
off the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks again, Steph.
No doubt, bro.